Shane van Gisbergen will bow out of Supercars as a three-time Bathurst 1000 champion after becoming the first driver in 15 years to secure consecutive wins at Mount Panorama. Bathurst results. 1. Shane van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 6 hours, 7 minutes, 496 seconds. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +19. 932 seconds. 3. Anton de Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +33. 056 seconds. 1. Shane van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 6 hours, 7 minutes, 496 seconds. 1. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +19. 932 seconds. 2. 3. Anton de Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +33. 056 seconds. 3. The defending Supercars champion backed up his Bathurst triumph with Garth Tander last year, combining with Richie Stanaway to be the first all-New Zealand pair since Greg Murphy and Stephen Richards in 1999 to win the Great Race. Starting from 6th on the grid on Sunday, van Gisbergen and Stanaway tore away to upstage Brody Kostecki and clinch victory over the red-hot favourite by almost 20 seconds. Kostecki, the championship leader, started from pole after a record-breaking shootout win, but van Gisbergen's experience and class won out in the 161-lap marathon, witnessed by the third biggest crowd in Bathurst history. The victory was the first consecutive victory at Bathurst since Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes claimed a third straight crown together in 2008. Amazing, van Gisbergen said post-race. We weren't the fastest car all week, but we worked on the race car. Quote, Shane van Gisbergen during the Bathurst 1000. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. Co-driver Stanaway, who walked away from Supercars only to return to co-pilot van Gisbergen this season ahead of rejoining the circuit next season full-time, said it was an unbelievable feeling. I knew I had a good shot, but you never know at this place, he said. I couldn't be happier. Quote, Ford's fears of more Chevrolet dominance were proved correct as 888 young gun Brock Feeney appeared destined to join van Gisbergen and Kostecki for an all-Camaro podium. But Feeney was left heartbroken and in tears after experiencing gearbox issues on lap 137 when the 20-year-old and Whincup were placed second. I'm gutted. The track was coming to us, we were real fast out there, he said. This place can be the best but it can also be the worst. Quote, Shell V-Power's Anton de Pasquale was the first Ford driver across the line in third. Jamie Whincup leaped into an early lead at Mount Panorama, only for disaster to strike later in the race. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. AAP. Dan Himbrechts. Van Gisbergen's 80th career win, and 5th of the season, keeps him well in contention to claim a third straight Supercars title. It has been an era of dominance from van Gisbergen, who has won 3 of the past 4 Bathurst 1000s after first triumphing during the COVID-affected 2020 season. The 34-year-old will head to the United States at season's end to drive full-time in NASCAR, after scoring a stunning win on debut in Chicago in July. I'm really gonna miss it, van Gisbergen said in Victory Lane after the race. I love this place. I'll be back. For now, this is the perfect way to say goodbye. Quote, in the first Bathurst of the Gen 3, post-Commodore era, van Gisbergen's victory made it 21 of 24 wins to Camaro this season, with no Ford car saluting in multiple races. Van Gisbergen's win was salt into the wounds of Ford teams, who were left fuming after Supercars rejected technical adjustments to the Mustangs just days before Australia's most famous motor race. Ford's Great Hope Cam Waters was out of contention after lap 70 following a crash by his co-driver James Moffat. Waters, who has started in the top 3 for the past 5 years at Mount Panorama, will remain searching for an elusive victory in the Great Race. Moffat caused the third safety car of the 161-lap race after smashing into a wall at the Dipper. He had to be towed into the garage after the car stopped just before pit lane and they failed to finish, along with Brad Jones racing duo Andre Heimgartner and Dale Wood. Supercars legend Craig Lowndes' hopes of a surprise victory in his 30th Bathurst 1000 race came to an abrupt halt after 18 laps. The 7-time Bathurst winner was forced into the pits due to a broken gear lever mount. The 888 wildcard entry was able to get back on track, but not even the incomparable Lowndes could ever make up so much ground, and he finished in 26th place. With AAP, look back at how the action unfolded in our live blog. Key events. Thanks for being with us. Thank you so much for joining Mick and myself for today's action. It was not, perhaps, the most thrilling of Bathursts, but instead we were able to give a legend of the sport a send-off before he heads to NASCAR. There's plenty more action to come from across the ABC in terms of live coverage, and we look forward to seeing you there. Good night. Podium time. After the champagne, we get the interviews. The crowd are asking for a showy, and are booing when they're not getting one. It's been a 6-hour race, guys. I'm sure there are laws against that. Here's the best from the interviews. Anton de Pasquale: we battled all day, but good to end up with a trophy. Quote, Brody Kostecki: we come close, but we'll just have to come back next year and go one better. Quote, David Russell: we'll come back stronger next year. Shane Van Gisbergen: yeah. Also Shane Van Gisbergen: this moment, the atmosphere here, I'm really gonna miss all you guys. I'll be back soon. Quote, Richie Stanaway: to come back from basically being retired to being on the top step at Bathurst is a surreal feeling. Quote, a deserved victory. Great to see Van Gisbergen win the great race back-to-back, and for Stanaway to get his first Bathurst 1000 win. It's a well-deserved victory for them. Adam: they were certainly the best team on the day. Hard to say Brody Kostecki was not in the fastest car from Thursday through Saturday, but they don't give out the big prize on Saturday night, do they? Van Gisbergen has also been one of the best drivers in recent years in Supercars and surely deserves this as something of a send-off. Richie Stanaway: it's surreal. Here's the co-driver, who confides that the last 2 hours were the most nervous he has been in his life. It's definitely at the top for me, he says. It's an unbelievable feeling. I knew I had a good shot, but you never know at this place. I couldn't be happier. It's so surreal to be with such an iconic team. I've been quietly hoping for this result all year, so incredible. Quote, this is the perfect way to say goodbye, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen is speaking in pit lane. Amazing. We weren't the fastest car all week, but we worked on the race car, he says. Richie did a stellar job. The car was falling about a little bit at the end there. Brakes, steering, clutch. Quote, he says that this is the perfect way to say goodbye to Supercars and the mountain, but promises he will be back. I'm really gonna miss it, he says. I love this place. I'll be back. For now, this is the perfect way to say goodbye. Quote, let's get on the roof. A shake of the hands and a hug between the two co-drivers. Then Richie Stanaway says, let's get on the roof. Quote, and up they get on their Chevrolet. That's 888's 10th win at the Bathurst 1000. Shane Van Gisbergen wins Bathurst. Shane Van Gisbergen gets his victory lap, the crowd heralding the champion as he completes the final circuit of the Mount Panorama circuit. For the third time in the last 4 years, Shane Van Gisbergen of 888 Red Bull Racing is Bathurst 1000 champion. A wipe of his brow and delivers a wry smile from under his helmet. Now he's shredding his tires to oblivion in a cloud of white smoke. Brody Kostecki finishes second. Anton de Pasquale gets his first podium of his career at Bathurst. Final lap. Shane Van Gisbergen has no radio. Okay, turns out Shane Van Gisbergen's radio is out, so the pit board is out to remind him that he has just 1 lap to go before he becomes a 3-time Bathurst champion. 1. Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +22. 3. Anton de Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +9. 4. Chaz Mostert, Lee Holdsworth, Walkinshaw Andretti United, Ford, +10. 5. David Reynolds, Garth Tander, Grove, Ford, +7. 8. Lap 159. The victory procession is on. It's not a thrilling end to the great race, but a hugely impressive performance nonetheless. Shane Van Gisbergen is getting ready to celebrate. 1. Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +2.4. 4. 3. Anton De Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +7. 8. 4. Chaz Mostert, Lee Holdsworth, Walkinshaw Andretti United, Ford, +9. 8. 5. David Reynolds, Garth Tander, Grove, Ford, +7. 9. Lap 158. Brock Feeney limps back out on track. Brock Feeney is back out on track. He'll be a long way off the lead lap, but if he does finish he will get a handful of championship points that could be useful. Lap 157. 5 laps to go. 1. Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +23. 8. 3. Anton De Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +6. 6. 4. Chaz Mostert, Lee Holdsworth, Walkinshaw Andretti United, Ford, +9. 7. 5. David Reynolds, Garth Tander, Grove, Ford, +7. 0. Lap 156. Chaz Mostert hunting a podium. Chaz Mostert has taken a couple of tenths of a second out of third-place runner, Anton De Pasquale. I don't think he'll be able to chase down his fellow Ford driver. The gap is still 10 seconds, but it's one to keep our eyes on. Lap 154. Van Gisbergen takes half a second in that lap. Scrap that. Van Gisbergen is clearly being more conservative in both steering and acceleration than you might expect, but he is taking half a second out of Brody Kostecki per lap. It's hugely impressive from the defending king of the mountain. Lap 152. Shane Van Gisbergen complains of poor steering. Oh my, hang on a minute, get that champagne back on ice. Does Shane Van Gisbergen have an issue? I'm moving the steering and I'm not feeling anything, Van Gisbergen says. He is reporting a dead spot in his steering we're hearing now. He's been told that he can back off and still win this race comfortably, but is this car being held together by a wing and a prayer at the moment? 1. Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +23. 7. 3. Anton De Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +5. 7. 4. Chaz Mostert, Lee Holdsworth, Walkinshaw Andretti United, Ford, +10. 2. 5. David Reynolds, Garth Tander, Grove, Ford, +5. 4. Brock Feeney. This place can be the best but it can also be the worst. A truly devastated Brock Feeney has just been speaking on Fox Sports. I don't know what to say, he says. I'm gutted. The track was coming to us, we were real fast out there. This place can be the best but it can also be the worst. It's all about the rollercoaster journey. Quote, as he points out, he's 21 in a few weeks so we'll have plenty more opportunities you'd hope. It felt like it just slipped through today. Quote, impressive 4-day attendance. The official 4-day attendance has been announced as 204,069. That's not bad on a beautiful weekend in Bathurst. Lap 150. The Bathurst 1000 is Shane Van Gisbergen's to lose. 1. Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, 888, Chevrolet. 2. Brody Kostecki, David Russell, Erebus, Chevrolet, +25. 1. 3. Anton De Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto, Dick Johnson Racing, Ford, +4. 7. 4. Chaz Mostert, Lee Holdsworth, Walkinshaw Andretti United, Ford, +11. 0. 5. David Reynolds, Garth Tander, Grove, Ford, +4. 5. Lap 149. Here comes Shane Van Gisbergen, into the pits. Here he comes, his final stop of the race. How much time is he going to have? Plenty you'd think, no real risk, no stress for the pit crew. He had a buffer of 126. 1. 4 brand new tires ready to go on the Red Bull Chevrolet. They clear out the rubber detritus from the wheelbase. There was a little fist bump in the cockpit as well. The fuel is in, he is released and he's 13 laps away from Bathurst glory. Lap 148. Shane Van Gisbergen stays out. Interesting. He has a 125.4 buffer to play with. His pit crew are in position. Brody Kostecki has been nursing the car through the first lap of his new stint. But Shane van Gisbergen might want a bit more just to be certain. Sports content to make you think. Or allow you not to. A newsletter delivered each Friday.